welcome back to another video. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Let's jump in here talking about the Xbox Series S. So yesterday was the launch of Baldur's Gate 3 on PC, and it's doing extremely well so far in terms of players number, going up over I think like 200 or 300,000 players on Steam. So very successful already, and this game is going to be a major hit, especially when it releases on all of these different platforms. We know it's coming out in a month on the PlayStation 5, and then we don't have a release date yet for the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. And the latest comment that they've come out made it sound like it's not going to release until 2024 on the Xbox. And the reasoning behind that is because of couch co-op. So they're having troubles getting this game to run properly and have feature parity because of couch co-op and split screen co-op on the Series S. Now we have another person here. They say developer in this article, but the reality of the situation is the person speaking here is just the communications director. So I don't really know how much development this person does, but they are commenting on the Xbox Series S, and they believe that the Series S is a problem for developers. So here is what Thomas Puha, the communications director of Remedy Entertainment, says when it comes to the Xbox Series S. It says, Puha claims that the console's technical limitations need to be taken into account at the beginning of a game's production, which immediately scales back what developers could otherwise create if Series X was the only current gen Xbox console. Now, like I said, communications director, people are actually calling him out for commenting on the development of games when he doesn't have the technical background for the development of these games. This person here says on Twitter, how can you talk about anything technical when it comes to making a video game when your background is just PR? That would be like a janitor working at a hospital saying he is a surgeon. And to be completely honest, I don't know all of Thomas Puha's background, but if he is just in a PR role, just a communications director, sure, I'm sure he's seen stuff at these studios, asked questions, learned a lot from people that he's worked around, but the technical skills needed from the actual developers that are coding these games is far different than somebody who is just a communications director from a studio. Now, it's an interesting case to make because we've been in this debate since the beginning of the Xbox Series S, since they announced the Xbox Series S, whether the console would hold back this generation. And right off of the bat, it was a kind of a ridiculous argument to make because we were still getting cross-generation games all the way through to 2022. I mean, there are still games coming out for older generation consoles. We literally just saw Respawn saying that they are beginning the development of Star Wars Jedi Survivor for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and we've seen how good that game does look. And to believe that they're going to be able to put that on a PS4 and Xbox One tells me that the developers at Respawn have a lot of skill to be able to optimize a game like that for those lower powered specs. And then you look at things like PC, right? And PC has so many different specs that these games are coming out for. The minimum specs for Baldur's Gate 3 is lower than the Xbox Series S. So you have to ask yourself, well, if it can play on these lower spec PCs, why are they having issues here with the Xbox Series S? And Thomas Puha believes here it's because when they're starting the development, they didn't take into account the Xbox Series S. And Larian has already come out and admitted that it's their fault that they don't have the resources and time essentially to get this game optimized for the Series S, which is why they're having to push the game's release until 2024 or sometime before that, or at least until the couch co-op is in there. Now, again, the Xbox Series S, when it comes to the console itself, so far this generation, 3 years in, there has been far more positive stories, far more good things that the console has done, especially for the price, than negative things. And this article here mentions something that I think is absolutely absurd when they're talking about the value of the Xbox Series S. They say here that the value of Microsoft's low-spec console has been brought into question many times before, which I don't really believe that the value of it is something that has been questioned. When you're paying $299, sometimes $199 when it's on sale, you get a refurbished one for like $150, and you're playing the biggest AAA games to come out. You're getting 120 frames per second, or at least up to 120 frames per second for first-person shooters. The value of the Xbox Series S for what it's outputting is out of this world. It is very, very good. And as we go through this generation, it's going to become even cheaper. There's going to be a point where you're probably going to be able to pick up a Series S for $99, which is just crazy, especially if you're still going to be able to play all of the biggest AAA games that do come out at lower fidelities and maybe not at the 60 frames per second, but still getting access to those games, I think, is a great thing for the price that they're going to be able to charge for it. Now, Larian's claim, like I said, couch co-op is the reason why this game is going to be able to be released on the Series S at the same time as the PlayStation 5. So you may ask yourself, well, does that mean that the Series S just can't handle couch co-op? It's not good enough. It's too underpowered. And that is absolutely not the case, because we can go here, just quickly Googled it, and you can look at all of the split screen multiplayer games for the Xbox Series X and S, where developers have been able to optimize these games properly to be able to run on the console itself. There's a huge list. I mean, you go down to a game here like Gears 5. I know this was a last generation experience, but go look at how good Gears 5 looks as a video game on whatever platform you want to play, and see how that game is running on the Xbox Series S with the co-op experience with the split screen. It supports 3-player split screen play with 2 players as soldiers, while 1 controls a supporting robot. So there is even more than 2 players that are able to be played on the screen. And we just go down this list. There are multiple split screen games that run on the Xbox Series S. At the end of the day, there's always going to be this pushback against the console itself and why things can't get done. But it comes down to the development teams and their time, their resources, and their ability to get games running properly on the platforms that are out there, especially when you have PCs that are less powerful than the Xbox Series S, yet the game is still able to run on it. So this is a thing that's going to continue to be in the news until it releases for Xbox. But more developers are going to come out and say things, or not even developers, communications directors or PR people are going to come out and say things, and to create those media headlines and to create this, me talking about it, not me specifically, but you guys know what I mean. But let's jump over here to something else that a lot of people are, it's very confusing right now what is going on with Starfield. And I'm not sure why. People, for some reason, there is this like fear, uncertainty, and doubt propaganda marketing machine thing happening where people are questioning whether Starfield is ready. Is it going to get delayed? Is the game going to be any good? And there's people questioning, why is there no marketing for Starfield? Which it has been marketing for Starfield, absolutely. We literally just got, during the Xbox showcase, I would say one of the biggest, most in-depth deep dives into a game for a preview that I've seen in an extremely long time. Literally everything you want to know about Starfield is in a 45-minute in-depth video with all of your questions answered. I don't see what else needs to be said about this game before it released in September. I mean, there's so many things that I just want to be able to experience. But there is a lot of talk on social media now about Starfield, and it seems like the negativity for the game is overtaking the hype for the game. And I'm just very confused why. And people are believing that this game is going to flop, that it isn't ready, it's not good, because there hasn't been enough marketing. And we have this story here that kind of, I would say, puts all of the talk about marketing to rest. Whether they go crazy on marketing right now or not isn't going to make a difference on how well Starfield sells and how many people are going to be playing this game. As I think for a lot of people, they love Bethesda. It's a brand new IP, and it could potentially be a generational RPG similar to something like Skyrim was. But we have this here. Starfield joins Steam's top 10 best sellers 1 month before release. It's already in the top 10 of the amount of people that have gone ahead and pre-ordered this game. The article says why it matters. The game is likely to be the biggest Xbox launch this year. Microsoft also expects to see record-breaking revenue in the next quarter after the release of Starfield. So whether we're seeing a ton of marketing or not on social media, on TV, wherever you consume your media, it's kind of irrelevant. This game is going to sell insanely a month before it's already in the top 10, and it's going to be one of the most played games when it does release in September. You can pretty much almost guarantee that. But right now, I think there's just some fear, uncertainty, and doubt campaign going on to kind of reduce the excitement for a game that everybody is going to be talking about, probably the biggest game to be released in 2023. Now, when it comes to another huge game that was released in 2023, that is Diablo 4, as it has hit the best-selling game in June from the latest data from Circana, which was formerly the NPD results. So pretty huge numbers here for Diablo 4. It says here, following Diablo 4 in sales were Final Fantasy 16 and Street Fighter 6, both games that were released in June. And the previous top game was The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which fell down to 4th. And Hogwarts Legacy still up there in the top 5. But Diablo 4, massive. We knew this game was going to sell well. Did we think it was going to be the top selling game? Potentially, but there's so many other big games that were released. The fact that it's overtaking all of that really is telling of how popular this franchise is. And it's going to be a first party Xbox franchise when the Activision Blizzard deal closes. And you bet Xbox is looking at this and they're kind of licking their chops, happy to see that they're going to have one of the best selling games every time that it does come out. And the amount of money that's going to bring into the Xbox ecosystem is huge, especially for getting more games into Game Pass and expanding out the content within the subscription service. Now let's jump over here. And this has to do with an Xbox ban exploit. Apparently, there's an exploit that people have been talking about, people have been raising alarms over, which is allowing a third-party tool to get accounts banned. It says here, third-party apps or tools cannot impact player enforcement, and no volume of inaccurate reports results in an enforcement. That's Microsoft responding to these reports about third-party apps getting people banned from Xbox, from Xbox's online system, from Xbox Live Gold and the ecosystem, all that type of stuff. And Kim Coons here shuts that down, saying there's really nothing that can happen to get people banned. So if you're hearing about these reports about third-party apps banning people, or maybe somebody is telling you about an app that they have to be able to ban people, it seems like from Microsoft and Xbox's safety team that they've determined that that just literally can't happen. All right, jumping over here. Xbox Game Pass. We know we've seen lots of reports in the past about the publishers and developers being happy about releasing their games into Xbox Game Pass as more people were checking it out. And it's instantly, they have access to millions and millions of players that potentially would have never played the game before. And Battlefield 2042 really is no different. Although Battlefield 2042 for a lot of people was a failure of a game, the way that it released with how buggy it was. And I'm sure it's improved. I haven't played it in a while. But Battlefield 2042, DICE comments on this saying that it was a huge moment launching into Xbox Game Pass. This is from senior producer Ryan MacArthur telling GamesRadar, saying, I'm a big believer in programs like Game Pass, and for us it was a huge moment, something we marked on our calendar. Continues here to say that one thing we talked about internally quite a lot was that if there was a moment in time where we were going to open this game up to a whole bunch of new players, then it needs to be good. It needs to be the game that we wanted it to be when we launched it. And that really galvanized the team as we charged towards that date. And that's the thing with Battlefield 2042. It's funny he says that, because that is a game that I was pretty excited for. I played the beta. Beta wasn't very good, very broken. Then when it released, there wasn't that much of a huge difference between the beta and the actual official release in terms of its technical issues. So they obviously didn't really hit, I don't think, where they wanted that game to be on launch. And that can have a huge effect if you are launching into a subscription service like Xbox Game Pass, where instantly tons of people are going to see it. And instantly tons of people can be turned off, and a lot of people may never return back to the game because of how the game actually launched. Now, he continues on here and talks about how the player base for Battle 2042 has expanded with each new season. He says, I think that why every season has been better than the last. Look at not just the core work, but the weapons that we made. The fact that we reworked every single map that we shipped in this game at launch, with the last one coming out at the end of season 5. And I mean, right there admitting that it wasn't where it needed to be at launch. Says that's something we've never done before. While it was hard, it was also really fun for us. When I look back on my career, it's probably the journey that I'm most proud of. He also continues here and talks about the next Battlefield game that is going to be coming out. And we did hear in the EA financial call or whatever it was that it's going to be a connected world style of Battlefield. So they're going to definitely be going with just a large live service game. But he says here, people trip and make mistakes. I think it's good for us to get a chance to come back and do what we think we can do best. It's been fun to see players jump back in and give us another chance, and for them to say, yeah, you guys are getting where you're supposed to be. So there you have it. They are very excited about the launch into Xbox Game Pass, or they were very excited about it. And maybe we will see in the future more Battlefield games dropping into the service. I want Battlefield to be good. I may actually go back and check out Battle 2042, but I want this game to be good, and I want future Battlefields to be very, very good. And one of the major reasons is, I mean, I played them back in the day, I enjoyed them, but we need that competition with Call of Duty. Even Call of Duty going over to Xbox being a first-party studio, you want a major first-person shooter out there from another publisher to be pushing Call of Duty forward all the time. And Battlefield, I think, was that title for a while, but it's completely fallen off, and Call of Duty really has no competition out there at the moment. And we need that. We need that from Halo. We need that from Battlefield. We need these first-person shooters to be massive, and we need these games to continue to advance and give us better games every single time that they do come out. And finally, let's talk about this. And this is pretty exciting if you are a Quake fan. It looks like Quake 2 is coming day one to Xbox Game Pass. That part isn't surprising, it coming day one to Game Pass. But Quake 2 is getting an enhanced version, which is the surprising, exciting thing here. And that it will potentially be revealed during QuakeCon 2023, which is August 10th and 11th. And what else is interesting is it's going to be coming to the Xbox ecosystem, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. So if you're a Quake fan, look forward to that announcement. I can't wait to see what the enhanced version looks like, the upgrades over the original Quake 2. And hey, maybe we will also get an announcement for a brand new Quake game, which I believe has been in the rumors as well. But I will leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.